Hey class, so we're going to be working on pages 91 through 96 here. So what you're going to do is kind of like with the last one, I want you to pause the video at certain points, and then go in and do the assignment and then come back and check in. For this one, we're going to be looking at two different models. The first one's of this chloroplast here. The second one's going to be of a leaf structure. And then you're going to be answering some questions based off of each of those models. For these, like usual, you can discuss it with a partner, discuss it with your table. But the goal is for you to try and develop answers on your own based off what you see here, and then come back to the video to where you can kind of check your work. I mean, obviously, it'd be easy for you to just not pause it, go through, type in answers that I talk about as I go. But in order to learn it, the best way to do this is to try and investigate it yourself, come up with what you can, come back, check your answers based off what I explain, and then you can change your answers before you turn it in. Okay, but I would really appreciate it if you tried to do it that way, of pausing it as you go, to get the most out of this. All right, so the first thing you're doing is we're looking at photosynthesis. The first model we have here is a model of a chloroplast. So the chemical reaction known as photosynthesis occurs inside specialized organelles. The organelles are those structures inside of cells that have each individual jobs. One of them in plants that do photosynthesis is called a chloroplast. So photosynthesis occurs inside these specialized organelles called chloroplast. Here's an image of one kind of cut open so you can see inside. You saw this in the Edpuzzle video that you did on Friday. Photosynthesis requires many steps, but it stems from a simple chemical equation. Photosynthesis captures energy in the form of photons or packets of light. Okay, so this is the light from the sun. We call those that photons, and converts the energy from the sun into potential or stored energy. So this is energy that's there that can be used. Potential. It has potential to do something, but it hasn't done anything yet. So into potential energy in the form of glucose molecules. So the glucose molecules have the energy in them that can be used for something. Model 1 right here below shows the structure of a chloroplast along with the reactants and the products of photosynthesis. Carefully study Model 1 and then use the information in the model to answer the questions that follow. So you're going to look at this. You're going to use what you see here to answer these questions. Once you get to stop, that's when you'll come back, play the video, and kind of check your work. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, answer questions 1 through 5 before coming back. So I'll give you a second to pause it there. I'll even leave it on this if you'd like to have this open to look at as you're on these questions here. So go ahead and pause. All right, so you should be back now. If you're back now, that means you finished questions 1 through 5 here. So the first one, the reactants for the chemical reaction known as photosynthesis into the chloroplast. What are these reactants? So in a chemical equation or in a chemical reaction, the things going into the chemical reaction we call the reactants. We talked about this when we learned about enzymes. Okay, so if you look up here, what are the things going into the reaction? So you see arrows going in. Okay, that's how you know it would be going into it. The bold things are just labels of what things are called. So we have our H2O and our CO2 here. Okay, those are both going in. You'll see this arrow going down, going in, arrow going down, going in. Now, you may have also stated the sun. That's what this is the sun. Yeah, there is an arrow there. Okay, let me change the color here. But this is not a reactant. Okay, the light is not a molecule. It's not really something physical, so it's not included in chemical equations. So let me just take that back. So down here, you should talk about carbon dioxide and water, or CO2 and H2O. Okay, you may have said 6H2O or 6CO2. That works too. All right. After photosynthesis is complete, the products can leave the chloroplast. What are these products? So after it's done, you'll see arrows going out. So those, after this chemical reaction happens, it turns into other things, right? So we have our two things here with arrows. I'd rather go back to, let's go a different color. Let's do green. Arrows going out here. Okay, so we have our C6H12O6. Now this is our glucose, okay? And then the other one right here is 6 O2s, which is our oxygen. So those are the products. Those are the products. Do a P for product. We had over here our reactants. Okay. All right. Write the balanced chemical equation for photosynthesis. All right. So what does it mean by balanced? Now, something you'll notice, and we did this chemical equation with enzymes. You may not quite remember exactly how it looks like, so yours might not quite look how mine does. So you can edit yours, right? Let me use a text box here. So the reactants go first, right? So we have our H2O and our carbon dioxide first. So 6 H2O, and then we do plus. Okay, and we have our carbon dioxide. Doesn't matter which order. And we have a carbon dioxide here. So 6 CO2. Okay, then you do an arrow, and then the products. We had C6H12O2, C6H12O2. Now, ideally, these would be subscripts that, like the 6, the 12, and the 2 down here would be down lower. But if you're just typing, you may not be able to get it down there. And then plus, and then the other product was 6 O2s. Okay, now what makes this balance? So the number at the beginning here, the 6 H2Os, the 6 CO2s, the 6 O2s, that's what makes it balanced, because you have to have the same number of each thing at the beginning and the end. Okay, and right here, for glucose, we have 6 carbons, right? So in order to get 6 carbons, we have to have 6 CO2 molecules, right? Because each one only has 1 carbon, right? We have to have 12 hydrogens, okay? So each water molecule has 2 hydrogens, so we have to have 6 water molecules to get 12 hydrogens, okay? This should be O6. Sorry if you didn't have that. So, and then O6, we have to have 6. Actually, we have to have 6 oxygens, and then over here we have what, 12 more. Is that right? Did I do that wrong? Yeah, no, I got that. Okay, we have 12 more. So you have right here, you have 12 oxygens, right? Because 6 times 2. CO2 has 2 oxygens, so 6 CO2s would give us 12 oxygens. Okay, and then each water molecule is 1, so another 6 oxygens in the 6 water molecules. So that would, here's our 6 oxygens from water. Here's our 12 oxygens from our CO2. Okay, that's a balanced equation there. All right, what is the energy source that allows photosynthesis to occur? All right, this is where our sun comes into play. Okay, back to drawing here. This is where our sun comes into play. So our sun going in is the energy source that allows photosynthesis to occur. So this would be the sun. And then if you have any questions, feel free to ask me through email or anything like that. I'd love to answer them. Or when I come back on Friday, you can shoot me any questions that you had based off of this first one. All right, so the next one here, leaf structure. Okay, there's our model here of a leaf structure. Model 2, examining the cross-section of a leaf. So this is like if you take a leaf, put a leaf flat, cut it in half, and look at it from the side. Okay, that would be what we're looking at as a cross-section of a leaf. So the main location of photosynthesis in most plants is in the leaf. Okay, so most photosynthesis happens in the leaves. As with many structures we have studied in biology, the leaf of plants have a structure that is well suited to their function. So structure and function go hand in hand. Examine the cross-section of the leaf on the next page while reading the description of the parts of the leaf. Okay, so there's different structures here. We have our spongy mesophyll. This part of the leaf includes photosynthetic cells full of chloroplasts, but it also includes air space between many of the cells. Palisade mesophyll. This layer of the cell is located near the top of the leaf and is characterized by the tightly packed photosynthetic cells, so no air in between them. Then we have the epidermis. This layer of cells is the very, very top and bottom of the leaf and has small cells that are tightly linked together. The epidermis creates a boundary between the leaf and its environment. So these aren't photosynthetic cells, they're more for structure and protection. Then the vascular bundle. This is the vascular bundle of the leaf are primarily composed of two different types of cells. Okay, we have our xylem cells, responsible for transporting water and minerals dissolved in it from the roots. So it's kind of like the straw that brings the water up to the leaves. Then the phylum cells are responsible for transporting glucose made in the cell of the leaf to other locations in the plant. So the glucose from photosynthesis gets made in the leaf, and then it gets transported elsewhere in the plant because it doesn't just stay in the leaf, it needs it elsewhere as well. So that it's kind of like the straw that brings them out of the leaf, or the transportation out of the leaf. Okay, then the stoma, or stomata for plural. It's a pore or small hole usually found at the bottom of the leaf. So this is at the bottom of the leaf, okay, openings. Then there's guard cells, okay, just like it sounds, these are cells found on either side of the stoma, and they can control whether the stoma is open or closed. So they're guarding the entrance, okay, they can open or close. Okay, so based off that information, you're going to pause the video, come back and label this based off of what we just talked about. So label using these labels here. And then you're going to answer the rest of the questions here all the way down to where it says stop, and then come back to check your answer. All right, so you're back here. I have these labeled for you. Double check. We have our epidermis, our palisade mesophyll up top, our spongy mesophyll because there's the holes inside and spaces between the cells, but it also has the chloroplast. You see there, those kind of green dots in there, just like the palisade mesophyll. So both of those is where photosynthesis takes place. Then the vascular bundle, actually we have epidermis. I don't know, it doesn't really have it on there, but just so you know, delete that. I don't know what just happened there. This also down here are some epidermis cells. It's not letting me delete that, so that's incorrect there. Come on. I do not want a text box. All right, whatever, doesn't matter. Just know that that's not right. So down here, there's some also epidermis because it said it was top and bottom. All right, so draw an arrow indicating the pathway you think that CO2 follows to enter the leaf. So we need CO2 for photosynthesis. So we're going to have it going in through the stomata here. Okay, so these openings, CO2 comes into the leaf through those. Okay, through the process of transpiration, water is brought into a plant through its roots and carried into the leaves from which it evaporates. What structures bring water into the leaf? Okay, so that's our vascular bundle, specifically the xylem brings water in. So right here we have our vascular bundles. Water comes in there. Label, drawn label, arrows showing the path you think water takes when it evaporates out of the leaf. Okay, so to leave, I should have done the water in blue, but we'll go green. Water leaves right here through the stomas. Okay, there's stomata. Okay, CO2 comes in through those, water leaves through those. So the opening is the only place things can come and go. Draw and label an arrow indicating the pathway oxygen would flow out of the leaf. So same thing, okay, oxygen is flowing out of a stoma, okay, through the only opening there. If the guard cells close the stomata, the plural for stoma, what molecules would be unable to enter the leaf? What molecules would be unable to leave, right? So we have CO2 entering, right? So if they're closed, CO2 can't get in. We have water and oxygen exiting, so they would not be able to leave. Under what conditions would a plant close the stomata? Okay. What would happen to the rate of photosynthesis if they close? It would slow down because we need those things for photosynthesis. And if they did close, or why would they close? If it's too hot, right, they're going to close because they don't want to lose a lot of water. If it's nighttime, they're going to close because they can't do photosynthesis or part of photosynthesis at night. So they would close it so things can't exit. Okay, or too dry so they don't dry out. What does the statement structure fits the function mean? Provide an example. to illustrate, and it talks about what's the function of leaves. I can go through all these at the same time. So, all right, so the